Sensational Saturday, my fellow ex-J-Dub apostates. What's going on with y'all on this sensational Saturday of no field service, no daily text, no studying for tomorrow's watchtower, or wondering what tomorrow's public talk is going to be about? Instead, this is a Saturday of you living your own life at your own free will. For me, it's a Saturday of chillaxation, providing y'all with some content, you know what I mean, in between working on some of our other projects. You know what I mean, the Queen's in the lab, working on that Bare Beauty. Meanwhile, I'm sitting up here in the den, smoking a blunt, chatting it up with y'all. Just did a couple of other videos, basketball related, so if you want to check them out, they'll be on the channel. You know what I mean? So the other day I ran into one of my old J-Dub associates. He was more so, he wasn't baptized, but his mom went to the hall, and him and his sister, they always came along. He didn't hang out with no other J-Dubs. I was really the only dub he hung out with. You know what I mean? He'd come play ball with us. You know what I mean? When we'd go bowling or the other J-Dub gatherings or parties, he would come. But other than that, he didn't really hang around J-Dubs. He hung around with the quote-unquote worldly guys. You know what I mean? And sometimes him and his homie would hang with me and my cousins, Alvin and Derek. They, like this homie, they weren't baptized, but they went to the hall because their mom went. But you know, he would hang out with us, we'd smoke weed, you know what I mean? We'd go hang out with girls and, you know what I mean, do grown folk shit. But I ran into him the other day, and he was asking me about, you know what I mean, some of my old like J-Dub homies who were actually baptized or working their way to getting baptized or whatever. And I was like, man, I haven't seen her talk to none of them in years. Like the most recent one of my J-Dub homies that I actually seen was a few years ago now. But he was talking about how maybe one day we'll go back or whatever. I said, nah, homie, it's, you know what I mean, that ain't happening over here. You know, it's like, it seems like whenever I run into somebody that was J-Dub or went to the hall with their parents or whatever and kind of drifted off, whenever I run into them, they always on some, maybe one day we'll go back. It's like they're holding out hope. And you know, I know that comes from a lot of that J-Dub propaganda about you dying at Armageddon and all that nonsense and won't see paradise. Like when you're raised in that and that shit is instilled into you, if you're not strong enough, that's why I always salute y'all, my fellow ex-J-Dubs, my fellow apostates, the ones that actually woke up and decided to use their own brain. You know, because it seems like whenever I run into a former associate or whatever, they always talk that saying, oh, I still believe it's the truth, this and that. I'm like, how? I'm like, obviously you haven't done enough research, or you're scared to research, or I've directed a few former Dub associates to the group. You know what I mean? Some of them are in those ex-J-Dub forums on Facebook or whatever. They don't always post a comment, but I know I've added a good 25 to 30 people because I knew a lot of J-Dubs when I was there, not just in the Philadelphia area, but all over. You know what I mean? I knew J-Dubs down in Atlanta. I knew a lot of them down in Atlanta because I was always down there. I knew quite a few in Florida. You know what I mean? Even out west, like California, Texas. You know what I mean? Even knew a few in Arizona. You know what I mean? So throughout the years, I've gotten in touch with people through Facebook or whatever, and I tell them, you know what I mean? I would break down some shit, and I would say like maybe 2 out of every 10 took heed to what I was saying, and those were the ones that I would add to the group. Like the rest of them, like my cousin, when I broke down some shit to him, this dude got so frightened, and I haven't heard from him since. I seen him one day on the street a few years ago, and this dude took off in the other direction. You know what I mean? You'd have thought I was possessed or something the way he took off when he seen me. You know, but that's that indoctrine. But anyway, back to the homie I seen the other day. I was breaking some stuff down to him, and I was like, you know, there's a group on Facebook. You could start there, and some of the insight you'll get in there will lead you to do your own research. But he was like, oh, I don't be on Facebook like that. I don't really do social media. And I was like, I know a lot of people, they don't really do social media like that. Like even cats, you know what I mean, in their 30s, like my age group. But I was like, all right, you know what I mean, we exchanged numbers, and I told him I'd hit him up maybe one day we meet out at the Belmont Plateau and Fairmount Park, and we could chop it up some more. You know what I mean? So maybe one day next week I'll reach out to him. I'm still waiting to hear back from the homie I did the video on a couple months ago now. Damn, time flies. You know what I mean? I reached out to him. He had hit me back, but I was busy at the moment. Then when I went to reach out to him, I haven't heard nothing back. So I don't know. I know the circle we kind of hung in. He was part of my Final Frame J-Dub circle. Like I was hanging out, like he was hanging out with me, like towards the end of my J-Dub tenure, like 2007, 2008. Like we was rolling around that time. You know what I mean? Because by this time, you know what I mean, my cousin and my other close J-Dub homie, they was up there in Pittsburgh. They was already up there by that point. You know what I mean? So I started, when I transferred from West Park to the Northeast congregation, I started rocking with a lot of the brothers that went up there. We used to play ball, you know what I mean, hang out, go bowling, shit like that. So I started messing with a lot of the cats up like in the Northeast area. You know, they were more, you know what I mean, they weren't as uptight as a lot of the J-Dubs I grew up around. That's why I kind of took to a lot of them. And even when I first left, I kept in contact here and there with a couple of them, you know what I mean? One guy, he was my barber at that point, and I was out and everything. He was still cutting my hair. We had chopped it up. Even went to a couple of Phillies games, but somebody had seen us at the Phillies game, and this was the year they had won the World. No, this was the year my Phillies played the Yankees in the World Series. We was at the championship series, and somebody seen us out. Next thing you know, he gets a real scolding by the elders, and because he was a ministerial servant, and he was trying to you know what I mean, climb that J-Dub ladder. You know what I mean? His wife was down pioneering. His sons was on the school. One son had just become an unbaptized publisher, so he was trying to move up, him and his family, but they seen him at the game, and next thing you know, you know what I mean, he just was like, I can't talk to you no more, brother. And I was like, I had seen it coming, so I was like, you know what, I don't have no hard feelings, you know what I mean? I see you're trying to move up in that world, and you do what you do, and I'm gonna do what I do. Like, I didn't have no hard feelings, but when I first got annulled, when I first had my baptism annulled, it was mainly the J-Dubs that I grew up around that was acting real funny, even though I knew I was leaving them behind. But instead of them just taking that for what it was, they started, you know what I mean, trying to throw dirt on my name. You know what I mean? A lot of us lived in Winfield, so I'm hearing shit around Winfield, you know what I mean, my home neighborhood. You know what I mean? I got quote unquote worldly people telling me that my own family, and I knew it was my J-Dub peoples, talking shit on me. Talking about I was selling drugs throughout the community, and man, I never sold nothing more than weed. Fuck out of here, but that's how they did. They was talking about I was going around with my cousins breaking into people's houses. Yeah, the people I grew up around. Now, speaking on my J-Dub homies, like I had my J-Dub homies that I played ball with, you know what I mean, went out to gatherings, parties, like bowling, shit like that. You know what I mean? Then I had the J-Dub homies that I smoked weed with. You know what I mean? Hung out with women and did a grown-up things with them type shit. You know? But a lot of them, they weren't baptized. They just went to the hall because their peoples there. Some of them were baptized. You know what I mean? Some of them were even servants and had a lot of responsibilities in the congregation. You know what I mean? And that gave me leverage on people. Because I knew, see, I'm not trying to move up in this world. You are. So you running your mouth on me would be redundant because A, I don't give a fuck anyway. And two, why would you do something stupid like that knowing you would be incriminating yourself? But the thrill I got was convincing some of the more straight-laced J-Dubs to smoke weed. Like, not none of the ones that was in my main J-Dub circle because, you know, I mean, I just never tried it with them, but a few others, like the homie I ran into the other day, I had him smoking weed. You know what I mean? We'd go down to the bowels of Veterans Stadium, go into a little ducky spot, smoke a couple of Philly blunts, and be high as shit during the afternoon session. You know, see, I was like one of those thrill-seeking J-Dubs. Like, I love doing shit that the elders and the uppity J-Dubs frowned upon. You know what I mean? That's probably why I was 14 and 15 smoking weed. You know what I mean? Trying to see which J-Dub sisters I could do grown-up things with, worldly things with. You know what I mean? And I had a knack, and I said this on a post in an ex-J-Dub discussion group. I had a knack for sensing out which J-Dub sisters were about it and which ones were straight-laced. And some of the ones that you would look at and be like, oh, nah, she's straight laced. I'm not. Those were the ones that would walk on the wild side. You know what I mean? It was just all about figuring them out. And me, since I smoke weed, I could always sense if another sister smoked weed or not. You know what I mean? And sometimes, as much as I would try to disguise it, a weed smoker could look at me and tell, you know what I mean, oh yeah, he's on. Like, I wouldn't be reeking of weed. My eyes wouldn't be bloodshot but you know what I mean, weed heads, we know. You know what I mean, we know. You know what I mean, like my straight lace J-Dub homies really consisted of my cousin, my homie, the ones that's up in Pittsburgh now. You know what I mean? My young boy Mike. You know what I mean? Even though Mike was a wild young boy before he got baptized, because him and his foster brothers, his two foster brothers was my cousins on my grandmom's side. You know, my grandmom, on my grandma's side was like the Smith, like the Philadelphia, like the West Philly, like a Smith section of West Philly or some shit, because the Smiths is deep as shit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm related to Will Smith or anybody like that, but that's my grandmom's last name. And my homie Mike, his two foster brothers, their last names were Smith. You know, and they was cousins on my grandma's side. Like, they was selling weed for me, and they had their own little crew on the lower north side of West Philly. You know what I mean? But then Mike, you know what I mean, he started studying and got baptized. Then he became straight-laced. Like, and not that anything was wrong with that, because you could still have fun with your straight-laced J-Dub friends. You know what I mean? Shoot hoops, play video games, go bowling. You know what I mean? Go to wholesome J-Dub gatherings. You know what I mean? Go to ball games. We could still do a lot of shit and have a good time. You know what I mean? But when I wanted to do quote-unquote worldly witness type shit, that's when my two cousins, Alvin, Derek, you know what I mean, my homie I saw the other day, I don't want to say his name, like the people whose names I don't really mention, I might give them a nickname, but that's not their actual name. That's just because I promised them I wouldn't never reveal their names. Like, some people are just real private, and you know how J-Dubs, they already scary acting. They don't be wanting shit to be traced back to them, because just for the simple fact that they associated with me, and I was a known worldly witness. And it wasn't that I got caught doing shit. I guess it was just like my rebel attitude, you know. And a lot of sisters was into me, and what happened was, how I got a reputation was that when sisters would get in their feelings, they would go running their mouth. They would never say nothing that would incriminate them. They would just say shit like, oh, I was crazy, I was stalking them. I'm like, first of all, I ain't never stalked no broad. You know what I mean? That's creep behavior. You know what I mean? That's the model of a lot of J-Dubs, but I was never on that time. You know, and the real ones will tell you. But you know, that's what would happen when a lot of sisters would get in their feelings, because either they couldn't manipulate me, I didn't want to be with them like that. Some sisters I just wanted to have a little fling with, and after that it was over. But they thought this was going to be some long-term commitment, and I'm like, nah, it's not even. But anyway, the straight-laced dubs, they might, you know how the elders do. They'll bring up some shit from 20 years ago and try to find a way to pin it on them. You know, I've seen that. That's actually happened. You know what I mean? And this was around the time I had first left. They was trying to find ways to fuck with all of my J-Dub peoples that was still in. They was trying to bring up shit on me from 10 years ago. You know what I mean? It didn't work, but and that's how the West Park congregation really got dissolved, because when I got annulled, it made that whole congregation look bad. And you know, the PO of that congregation, the one I call Kenji, that had the trout mouth sidekick, word was out that he was already on some foul shit. Like a lot of his foul, I'm not going to put his shit out there, but a lot of the foul shit he was doing was coming to light. And by him being a former Bethelite, oh yeah, you know, the governing body was looking into that shit heavy. So that the congregation I came up in wound up being disbanded. You know what I mean? And one of the methods that they used was how I was a member of that congregation, and a lot of shit that I got accused of being in. You know, but because a lot of J-Dubs that smoked weed bought weed off of me, they went around making it like, I was this big time drug supplier. I'm like, first of all, weed is not a drug, it's a plant from the earth. You know what I mean? And that's the only form of substance that I ever distributed. You know what I mean? I never fucked with that Ready Rock or that nose candy, pills. I never fucked with none of that shit. You know what I mean? But I sold the hell out of some bud. You know what I mean? A lot of people needed to smoke weed to survive that damn cold. You know what I mean? Shit, why you think I was getting blazed up? I mean, I ain't gonna say that's why, but that damn sure helped. It damn sure helped. Now, my cousin, the one that ran in the other direction, I'ma just call him Scrappy D. My cousin Scrappy D, when he seen me, he took off in the other direction. He was, you know what I mean, the J-Dub that we was doing dirt. Not so much doing dirt, because doing what normal people do isn't doing dirt. But I'll say it like, as far as the J-Dubs was concerned, yeah, we was doing dirt. You know what I mean? He was disfellowshipped and everything. And I was walking around with him at the district convention in the open. I ain't give a fuck who seen us. We'd be walking, cats would be trying to avoid Cuzzo. I would be speaking to him, what's up? Extending my hand for them to shake my hand and everything, making them feel real uncomfortable. Yeah, I was that dude. You know what I mean? But Scrap, you know what I mean? We used to fuck with the strippers. You know what I mean? We had VIP at the strip spots. You know what I mean? And you know, most of the strippers, after a long night of shaking their ass for that and getting that cash, they wanted to just relax, smoke a blunt. You know what I mean? Some of them popped pills and did other shit, but I don't have nothing to do with that. But we always had the bud, so we would hang out with the strippers. You know what I mean? It'd be me, Cuzzo. You know what I mean? That's why I said I felt some kind of way when I seen him and he took off in the other direction. I'm like, man, you was like my main J-Dub homie from 2005 through 2008. You know what I mean? Because when his big brother moved up to Pittsburgh with the other homie, that's when me and Scrappy D got real tight. You know what I mean? Because he's a few years younger than me. He's my sister's age. You know what I mean? They was in school together, was classmates and everything. So, you know what I mean? We all grew up with each other. So when I seen him and he took off another direction, I'm like, man, we used to have the strippers. We used to have the bud. And it's like, I thought we was walking away from the J-Dubs forever, or together, but he went back. And I wasn't even mad when he went back because his wife, all along, she had planned on being reinstated, and I knew he wasn't just going to leave her hanging. Plus, they was about to have a daughter. So, I knew that wasn't. But it's like after that, we kind of went our separate ways. I would talk to him on Facebook here and there. Then at one time he called me an apostate. Then when I seen him, he took off in the other direction. But according to my J-Dub homie DG, who I talk to every so often, she said last time she seen him, he is looking strung the fuck out. I'm like, I wouldn't know because I haven't seen little Cuzzo in like, they gotta be about 10 years now. You know, but then my other J-Dub homie that I was hanging out at the end, him and Scrappy D was real tight. You know what I mean? I'm just going to call him CJ. Yeah, CJ's the one. Even now, 15 years later, I know he's still butthurt about how things ended. Because he was the one that was going around talking shit, mad shit when I left. Because when I seen him a few years ago, he got the running off at the mouth and talking all that tough shit, which at the time was like 10 years later. And I had to, you know what I mean, pull the strap out a little bit like, oh. You know what I mean? Because I knew the kind dude that I was dealing with. You know what I mean? Because CJ back in the day when he hung out with me, he would get busy. You know what I mean? He was one, and that's why, like, first of all, whether you were straight-laced or not, I didn't hang out with no J-Dubs that wouldn't get busy if it came to it. Like, if a situation presented itself, you going to do what you got to do to defend yourself. We was never the type cat that was out looking for trouble. We just wanted to have fun and whatever. You know what I mean? But if you bought that smoke, you was going, you know what I mean? You was going to get flamed. Believe that. But anyway, CJ, he would get busy. So when he started running off at the mouth and started talking that tough shit, and I had to lift my shirt up to kind of remind him who the fuck he was dealing with, you know what I mean? He changed his tune. It was just like, nah, I just feel some kind of way that you just left us behind. We were supposed to be brothers. He changed his tune up. But I said, dog, when I left, I told you and Lil Cuz, I said, we always gonna be tight, but I ain't doing that shit no more. You know what I mean? See, I knew the more straight-laced folks was already getting left behind because I knew what time they would be on. But you know what I mean? CJ and Scrappy D, I thought, you know what I mean? Nah, because we out here, we got the bud, we got the strippers. So, but CJ also felt some kind of way that this is when me and Queen hooked up. You know what I mean? I think he really felt some kind of way because I was building a life that had nothing to do with a J-Dub. Because I always thought to myself, if Queenie was a J-Dub, I don't think he would have had no issue with it. But he seen the fact that, no, the chick I'm messing with now ain't got nothing. She was raised in the church settings. They ain't got shit to do with the J-Dubs. A lot of people really felt some kind of way And they really was like, oh damn, he's really, yeah. You know what I mean? But it wasn't because of being in a new relationship, because like I've stated plenty of times before, I was already transitioning out when me and Queen even met. Because a lot of people tried to blame her, like, oh, he left because he was with some worldly girl and she talked him. Nah. See, once the calendar year hit 2008, by 2007, at the end of 2007, I said, this is the last year I'm going to be affiliated with this shit. You know what I mean? The end of my J-Dub reign began ticking down when that shit happened with my ex-J-Dub wife. When she acted like a whole ass throughout the entire summer of 2007. Had me in court and everything. Had me sitting in court for 10 fucking hours. Well, not that long, but that shit seemed like an eternity. Just to try to reverse a restraining order. I tried to get an order on her. This bitch wound up manipulating the system and putting one on me. You know, the system love to do us like that. So, and I was like, it didn't matter because I was completely done with her at that point anyway. Like, all of my stuff was already out of the house. You know what I mean? But I said, I'm not paying no divorce. If she really want that shit, she's going to have to pay for it, which she did. But yeah, a lot of people think that, don't understand that was the beginning of my time out of there. You know what I mean? And CJ, and I know even Scrappy D kind of felt some kind of way, even though him and Queen got along. But I know he let CJ and whoever else within the J-Dub infrastructure manipulate him, because that's what they do. You know what I mean? Let it seem like I was abandoning them and turning to the dark side and all of that. It's just hilarious how they operate. But, you know, that's just a little breakdown on some of the J-Dubs I hung with. You know, like I said, the guys I hung out with on the Northeast end, they was cool, even though I knew once I was leaving them behind too. But that was just a little Saturday J-Dub, whatever, Tawk Squawk with your boy Hawk. More content coming. Hawk out.